Cool. Well, good morning, everyone. I will go ahead and rock and roll just to keep us on time. My name is Michael. I lead the Learning Technology Services and Strategy team at Duke Learning Innovation. And we do all kinds of stuff. We do a lot of LMS stuff, so I'm like the not cool guy here, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to learning and being challenged, and like, the keynote was so provocative, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you today and hearing all the things that are wrong with what I'm saying, so I'm excited about that. I'm a little curious about who's in the room today. Like if you are faculty at a campus, student, like primarily, right? I know we all do a lot of on the side, whatnot. Primarily a student, but I saw some students around today. Cool. Like academic staff or teaching and learning staff, IT, not affiliated with the college. Those cool. So a little bit of everybody. Cool. Thank you. That's very helpful. Let's try again. So if you were just interested in checking out before lunch, listen to this slide and then feel free to do that. I think two very important things when we think about EdTech on campus. So my job and my team's job is to kind of try to represent the teaching and learning users' needs of EdTech and then realize them with better EdTech. And I think the two most important things to remember to do that are to form deep partnerships with those people. So I work around central IT. You have to form partnerships with central IT, with teaching and learning, with the faculty and students, and then making sure that the solutions you come up with really fit your campus's culture. And that's what I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about today, because the problem that we are trying to solve at Duke is that Duke has a very highly decentralized academic and EdTech culture where faculty have a tremendous amount of power at their individual course level. And you would be, okay. Welcome. So faculty have a tremendous amount of power at the course, at the department, at the school, and even at the university level to do what they want at Duke. And I came from a state institution, community college system, and that was kind of the opposite end of the spectrum for that. So it's been really interesting trying to solve EdTech needs in this culture. And so my team is responsible for trying to provide an ecosystem of technologies to meet the needs of that highly decentralized and pluralistic culture. And our efforts are through this. Our efforts to meet that need and solve that problem are through a tool we've called Toolkits. And what Toolkits does is it allows faculty to start with a roster and add people to it, like TAs, librarians, support staff, collaborating faculty. So manipulating that roster, not removing official students, of course, but adding other folks and removing them, creating what we'll call a group, and then adding the various apps on top of that group. So it's a combination of the people and the tech that you want to use with those people, and to try to do this in a way that saves faculty time. So instead of having to go to each of the apps, to centralize it and allow them to kind of do things at once via like an app store. And funny enough, the reason we first created this was because we were trying to roll out WordPress about a decade ago. And a decade ago, WordPress didn't have great tools for getting groups of students in and out of WordPress, and domains didn't exist. And so we created this tool, and we've kind of tacked on these various extra systems since. And over the past 2 years, we've done a complete revamp and rebuild of this, because it was originally built to be like a back-end IT system. It was never thought of as a user service. It wasn't designed with user experience in mind. So it looked horrible, and it was horrible to use. And so we've done a complete rethink on that. And we have this system now that we call Kits. And I'll just walk through a quick demo here. So here we've got a home screen where a user can see all the various courses that they're in and all the various apps used in those courses. From the student perspective, we were hearing a lot of, this decentralized pluralistic culture on the faculty end results in a lot of scattered uncoordinated, uncommunicated experiences for us on the student end. So we're trying to kind of meet both ends of the needs here by having a single place where the students can go regardless of the choices made by their faculty, while still empowering the faculty to make whatever choices that they want. And a couple of the ways we do that are through this app store that allows faculty to request any app that they are interested in, that they're using. So I just met with some comp sci faculty last week. They're like, can we get CatMe, please? We don't have CatMe, so I had them fill this out so we can kind of run it through our process. And our goal is to kind of, so we're not a Canvas school, right? We're a Sakai school, and we're trying to create an app store. Maybe the Canvas app store would facilitate this for you. But for us, it really doesn't, because A, we're not on Canvas, but B, we have a lot of faculty who don't use the LMS anyway, or they use it poorly or very minimally, and so we didn't want the LMS to be the central hub of our whole ecosystem, and so we kind of abstracted this away. And if you don't want to use an app, you put your form in, you get a request, but you still want to use Slack. We don't have Slack in our ecosystem, so you can use this custom link tool and just add whatever you want. So here I'll just do a quick Slack ad. We're using Font Awesome for icons, so a lot of popular consumer tech apps are in there. And then now it'll show up on my little card as the Slack page for this course. You can always, any of the apps we officially integrate, you can dig into them a little deeper. We have, iOS or Google Play Store-esque App Store pages with these that we're trying to collate a lot of information from around the web in a way that's very maintainable. So we're not trying to replace the support documentation for, a WordPress.com or anything like that. We just want to connect people to the things they need to know, and then leverage those resources that the apps or the companies maintaining those apps maintain. We try to walk through all the decisions we make on behalf of faculty. So we're trying to save faculty a lot of time with the system, so we make a lot of choices for them. One of them is, when you add someone as an assistant, we just are going to do all of this stuff for you, or a student in this particular app has these particular roles. And that's, in the past, been very hard to communicate quickly and effectively, and so we're hoping that this is a better stab at that. And then at the bottom of this is a new piece we've never done before that I'm pretty interested about. It's kind of like Wirecutter style commentary about the ed tech. All the questions that we think faculty should be asking before they use ed tech, we're trying to ask them for them. So a lot of times faculty don't think about, is this app accessible, or what are they doing with the data that I'm putting in this app? How do other faculty use this in their class? What are their experiences, and how are they using it well? And trying to bring all that together here on the same page for the benefit of our campus community. And then an additional thing we're doing is making all of these pages open without the need to SSO login in, to try to share that with others. And then if we find others outside of the Duke community, and if we find other content that's valuable, we'd love to pull it in here and update these as well. And then I mentioned earlier about how it lets you manipulate the group at the center of it all, and that's just a quick demo of that. You can search for someone in our directory, it adds them, gives them a role. But a really cool feature is that, what do you do if someone's not in your directory? You see a lot of powerful learning experiences happening with things that are not official courses, or with folks that aren't at Duke currently. And so how do you get those people into your classroom and your learning experiences? And we have a really cool system at Duke called OneLink that allows us to invite anybody in the world to Duke and give them a Shibboleth credential and NID, and get them into our systems through this. And it's a really cool automated way to just say, I know I want to co-teach this with Hannah, or I want to invite her for a lecture, and then I'll just get you in and then give her the right access she needs in the apps that we're using across the course. So some stuff we are learning as we go through this process, this is kind of just dig a little deeper into that very first slide, is that people over technology. The culture at your institution really matters more than just about anything else when trying to craft EdTech solutions that are going to make a difference. And I think that a lot of times, 5 minutes. A lot of times we don't think about that. We don't put the people at our university community at the center of it all, and the things that those people, faculty and students, want to accomplish with EdTech. That needs to be the center of your strategy and the execution of your strategy, instead of a new tech platform, whatever it is of the day. And at Duke, that culture of technology pluralism, the faculty choice, is really what led us down this road, instead of what maybe many other valid roads out there for different institutional cultures. So let's see. And a second takeaway is to do things iteratively. It's definitely not problem-free philosophy, but it's a pretty good one, I think. So if you've never had the joy of having a good agile or lean experience, usually they're like this. All right, and so we're going to do this agile, and I build you half a car that is useless to you. It's really supposed to be a little bit more like this. And so we're somewhere around here right now where we think we do some things that users want, but we know we've got a long way to go before we kind of get to the end game there. And I would really encourage you to think about this whenever you're trying to do any institutional change. Another example of this that I really like is Matt Gunkel's group at Indiana built this, which is very similar in nature to what we're trying to do at KITS, but it doesn't do any of the deep integration stuff. So it's like just the App Store piece. It's just the content management piece. And this is an easier effort to start up and maintain, and it's still incredibly valuable to their campus community. And so you don't have to rebuild the world overnight. Think about what you could do, what small changes you could do, and then build upon that. So yeah, creating an ecosystem that fits your campus culture, not the industries, will lead to success. And then partnering with faculty, teaching and learning, and IT, wherever you are, bringing those three groups together is absolutely critical. So I'm Prof. Mike Greene online. Feel free to tweet me, at me, whatever. Learn with KITS will take you to the repo for this. So something I haven't talked about yet is we're trying to do this as openly as possible. We've been product managing the product on GitHub. This is just a link to our repo since the start of the project. And later this year, we're going to move the code out of our internal GitLab into GitHub, and then start looking for partner institutions that may think that this is a strategy that makes sense for them. So if it interests you, feel free to reach out to us there. We are also hiring, shameless plug, come work for us. So we have a couple minutes for questions or thoughts or damnations, whatever the attitude of the group is this morning.
I'm allowed to ask questions since I came late. The part where faculty can sort of choose which tools they want to use in their courses, we have faculty who want to use all kinds of tools in their courses too. Where is the conversation about what tools would most benefit their class and what their learning outcomes are and where their pain points are, and kind of choosing those tools, or does that happen through your area, or is that through the teaching and
Yeah, so my group is the teaching and learning group on campus, but my team is not the faculty consulting group there. So we have another team in our department that would, they love having those one-on-ones and trying to dig deep into those problems. That's Amy's group, yeah. And so I would say right now, because we're somewhere right here, it's all manual. If we are aware of a problem or we're aware of a new app the faculty wants to use, then we can say, hey, let's talk about this. And the goal would be, for something like this, is maybe we've got some kind of decision tree UI that's like, oh, you want to do team-based learning. Here's 3 apps that we have already for team-based learning. If not, use a custom link and add CAT, because we don't have that yet. We just don't quite have that wizard or whatever we're going to call that.
So you just invite them in consultations?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And if they, there's lots of Get help links and things like that on there if they want to reach out to us. And so it's not perfect by any means, but that's other conversations around data privacy and things like that. We're having on the contract end for anything we're going to actually really put in there. But for things like Slack, right? I just put that Slack URL in there. right now all we're doing is kind of looking at the database and saying, it seems like we've got some slack, maybe we should dig into that and start thinking about that, but we're not actively going out to folks and saying, tell us about how you're using Slack yet, but maybe. I think that's on other questions.
Yeah, what's the student experience like then?
The student experience is this. Let's see how quickly I can go back. Is this so a faculty and a student see almost the exact same thing? Students do have this add app, but the only thing they can add are custom links that are private to themselves. So we think that's kind of a cool feature because even if your faculty has no clue Kits exists and we're doing it whatever they want, you can still use this and bookmark all the various things that they're using in their class, or if you've got a favorite study resource or note-taking app, you can add that here, and it still becomes useful to you regardless of how faculty. But you see pretty much the same thing. You just have a lot less power, right? So you can't add people, you can't add all the other deeply integrated apps.
So the integration happens at the kids level, not in Sakai, so you don't log into the course.
Right. For now, it still happens in both. But the end game is to pull a lot of that functionality out of the LMS and say, do that here. And then if you use the LMS, it makes sense because the LMS is one of the apps. And if you don't, then you also have a lot of power you didn't have any before. You know?
Do you have stats on like how many people actually add the LMS to this and how many don't?
We do. It's kind of misleading because we were already replaced when we implemented Sakai 6 years ago. We replaced all of the people management functionality with this. So this looks like tons of people are using it for Sakai because that's the only way you can add your TA to your Sakai site. So compared to the rest of the data, which is really they're using this, it's a little bit distorted.
Okay.
Do we have time for a couple more?
Probably one more.
One more? Okay. Good. And then I'll be out in the hallway happy to answer more.
What kind of conversations do you try to have with your IT department around like student data if you're incorporating other external tools? It's something on our campus that we see to faculty have a lot of room to use whatever apps, but when we put it in there, there's all sorts of things breaking down in conversation about how to experiment and what's allowed and what's not. So how do you approach that conversation?
With a lot of one-on-ones and small group meetings. So Duke is not a policy-heavy place. I'm very thankful for that. So if we have, I'll do an initial contract review and all the terms of service and things. And if I see things I'm not sure about, then I'll definitely bring in our information security team and ask them their opinions. They have to do an official review of the architecture behind it anyway, so they're going to dig into the technical side of it. But it's usually with IT staff or other folks that are reviewing a lot of contracts, ed tech or not, and just saying, what do you think about this data? Because, again, I just had this talk with comp sci faculty last week, and I was like, so tell me about Gradescope and Piazza and what you think about how Piazza uses your student data and Gradescope being bought by a communications company. And they were like, never really thought about it. And so we were having that conversation on behalf of them, but not to a point where I'm not going out and saying, you should stop using Piazza because I don't think they're using your students' data well. Other schools have done that. I don't know if any schools here have banned Piazza. We've not done that. But it's just all about conversation. Thank you all for your time. I think we're out of time, and so I'll be out in the hallway if you have any more questions.